What is up? Coming to you live from the Cat House in Montebello, California. It's time for yet another episode 182 of Dre's Geek Philosophy podcast. It's on here. It's written up there. I typed it in. How's it going? It's Monday. It is humid here in Southern California. It is humid. It's worse than hot. Humid is worse than hot. Hey, what's up, Art Solorio, my main man. What's up, brother? My Destiny homie. I know. Some of our old Destiny crew. They're trying to get the band back together. I don't know when I'll be able to return. Maybe when we've moved out of the cat house into a bigger house that has proper Wi-Fi. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe when Tiger's 5 years old and if Destiny's 2 is still around. Maybe I'll rejoin and play for funsies. Or, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll take the PS4 to work and I'll jump on and we'll do a quick Destiny 1 raid if those other yahoos are willing. How's it going, everybody? It's Monday. You guys have me in spirit. I know. I keep meaning, hey, what's going on, Rolando? I'm there in spirit. I'm still in the Destiny fire team chat, but I've not been able to participate in Destiny in a very long time. Most of that was voluntarily not, but now the last year and a half, I have involuntarily been able to play Destino. I have not been able to fulfill my Destino playing as a Titan, even though I've heard they fixed. I remember I made that declaration a couple of years ago on the show. I will not play the game again until they fixed it. And apparently they fixed it. My Destiny Human Resources legacy continues. That's right. That's right. All right. So today, a couple of funny things. Ironically, I actually got a couple of the topics for today's show from my mother-in-law, who sent them to me this morning. I guess one was something was very surprising to me. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there are movies playing some places. There are movies at drive-ins. Obviously, not your normal movie theaters, but there are movies playing. And your number one film, apparently for the last 2 weeks, has been Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. It made somewhere in the realm of about $500,000. And I was quite surprised at this. I was like, what? There's places that are, showing old movies, and it turns out you can, if you're a movie theater, you can dive into the back catalog of films. Apparently the fee to get a reel or a digital file, however they do it nowadays, it's only $250. So I'm sure a lot of these drive-ins are raking it in, and people, going over there. Irvis, yeah, I missed the camaraderie and the insanity of playing Destiny. We're going to talk a lot of video game stuff after I get through this weird thing that's happening with drive-in theaters. And yeah, apparently a bunch of old movies are being checked out by these drive-in theaters. I have to check if the one over here in Azusa is still running. I'm gonna take the Rosa and the baby to go catch a flick at a drive-in. Just keep the windows up, keep away from everybody else. What's up? Daniel's on. We got 2 of the 3 patrons on board here right now. All we're missing is Ryan. Once Ryan clocks into work and starts perusing the Facebook, we'll have all 3 patrons on at the same time. Didn't Walmart turn some lots into drive-in theaters? I would not be surprised. Was it last week or like last weekend? Not this past weekend. I noticed that a lot of restaurants. I did a drive-through Monrovia the other day, and I saw the old restaurant row up there. They've turned their parking lots into patios to get around serving people. But unfortunately, today, if you're still keeping up with the pandemic, California shut everything back the fuck down. Everything's back to takeout, no indoor seating, all those worlds. Oh, James, yeah. I can't wait to see the World Star Walmart drive-in videos. Oh, man. I can only imagine in all my years of repping back in the days between repping for Nintendo and repping for Navi, I saw some terrible things at Walmart. So I'd wager there'd be some amazingly horrifying videos for Walmart drive-thrus, or drive-in videos. Ooh, good. Blech. Walmart. I'm glad. I'm glad that I've left the rep world. I have not had to set foot in a Walmart. I think it's been a good couple years now. I think the last time I darkened the doorstep of a Walmart was I think when I was an Acosta rep in 2018. I had to go to a Walmart to go help with some nonsense. I was like, no, I don't want to go to Walmart. I was perfectly fine with going to Sprouts in La Cañada and in Burbank at 5 a.m. But man, going to a freaking Walmart, oof, yikes. Yeah, I see Pasadena. I haven't been up in Pasadena in a while. I'm sure they're turning a lot of parking lots into outdoor dining. They were trying to get around, but I'm sure today, like, no, they cracked down on that nonsense today. Old Governor Newsom over here in California has cracked down because, well, as a, I forgot which of our Facebook friends. I think Daniel and Irv, you guys were in that thread. It's like when the gym coach tells you all to do push-ups and one of you fucks up, then everybody has to keep doing push-ups. That's what's happening right now. We're all supposed to be wearing masks and supposed to be responsible, but people keep fucking up for the rest of us, and we all gotta freaking keep suffering here with the lockdowns. We look at all these other countries, they have their shit together, and they're all right, cool. You guys can. They're allowed to live their day-to-day lives. Of course, they're still wearing their masks and being courteous of their fellow people. Unlike over here, I got my freedom. I got my freedom. Yeah. It's insane over here. The wife and I were discussing. I was like, when are we going to get to go back to a movie theater? I'm like, I don't know if ever. Oh, James, no, thank you. Outdoor dining is probably still allowed. So all these restaurants are like, please, no, don't. Because the wife and I, we were driving around yesterday. We went out to go get some ice cream. I put on my mask, went into Fossman's, got us some ice cream. But it was like, we're just driving around looking at all the businesses are closed down. Yeah. Orange County doesn't care. Oh, good. Yeah, I work in the outskirts of Orange County. They really. Thankfully, I'm in the industrial area of Orange County, so I don't get to see too many of the yahoos behind the orange curtain. But man, I imagine it's horrifying. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. Down there, yeah. It's SoCal, Florida. Yes, it is SoCal, Florida. But I do want to find to spin this back around. I do want to eventually find. I want to find one of these drive-in theaters. Anti-mask protests. Ugh. I don't know, Irv. You're over there in the deeper part of Yeah, well, actually, you're more like on the western edge or the eastern edge of the Orange County, where I work in the northern edge of OC. Anti-mask protests. I saw one of the at a grilled cheese place. I don't know if that was here, if that was in Florida or some other wonderful southern state. I don't mean to speak ill of southern states, but they've been fucking up over there. I saw Florida had they keep breaking the record for most cases per day, and the Walt Disney World reopened over the weekend. Oh, Florida. I feel like within the next 6 to 12 months, Florida's just gonna become a verb for just like complete fucking fuck up. I mean, if it isn't already, they're really Floriding up this thing over here. Oof. And you see how bad they Florided that up? Ugh, yikes. I'm gonna teach Tiger to, instead of saying the F word, it's like, oh, Florida. They really fucked things up. They really Florida things up. Oh, what the Florida? Yeah, school 5 days a week. Yeah, that's another thing if you've been paying attention this morning. Orange County. Orange County is ready to friggin' send all the kids back to school, and LA Unified is like, fuck that shit. And honestly, I'm sure LA Unified, I don't know if that's necessarily completely a altruistic thing. I think it's more like, we don't want the liability. We can't afford this shit. James confirms here, it's already a segment on the Kevin and Bean Show. I should not be shocked. Florida, yeah. And to think, I thankfully, I've only been to Florida one time in my life. I went back in 2006 with a good old big gray N. Take a drink. Hey, look, it's a Nintendo cup. Take a drink. Yeah, I got to go to Orlando I mean, 14 years ago, before we had to worry about any of this nonsense. But I don't think I will ever head over there, unless I'm somehow forced to in some way. I don't foresee myself being forced to go anywhere near America's infected dick anytime soon. It's just bad. But something else that I was alerted to by my nice mother-in-law was, well, actually, I think my wife had tagged me in it already over the weekend. This is something that's bothered me. I know I've probably talked about this a lot on our old show, the Wednesday night show, which I cannot remember what we called the Wednesday night show. That's terrible, Dre. Pete's gonna pop in right now like, what? The Multiverse Comic Show. My brain, it took 10 seconds to come back. Something that I've always bitched about is these people who get comic books graded and they get locked away in those plastic coffins because, we must preserve them. Now, it's been happening in video games now, and I'm sure if you haven't seen it already, a copy of Super Mario Brothers for the original Nintendo Entertainment System sold at auction this past week for $114,000. Because it had been graded by, there's this organization called WADA. I guess they're the equivalent of the comic book grading, whatever, CGC, whatever those fuckers were called. They're the video game equivalent. You send them your game and they will encase it in a tomb so it will never be played again. And they will assign it a grade like they do in comic books, but they do it to video games. And just ensuring that no one will ever play this game again. I mean, naturally, I'm sure with like Super Mario Brothers, you can go find a ratty copy at a local flea market. But now, I guess people who've managed to hang on to them and keep them in pristine, sealed condition, even with the shrink wrap on them, I guess you could get them graded. And was it earlier last year? Was it one sold for $400,000, and then this past weekend it's $114,000. My boss was telling me today at work that he had a great regret. Before all this chaos, he had an opportunity to buy a sealed Super Mario Brothers cartridge for about $3,000, and he passed on it. And now he's like, well, hindsight's 2020. He didn't know that the video game speculation market was going to get out of hand like this, and this truly bothers me a lot on multiple levels. Like, one, obviously, it bothers me the same way it bothers me in comic books. It's like you're taking an item that is meant to be read and sealing it away in a coffin. That's not my term. My old buddy, the owner of the comic shop in Burbank, the House of Secrets, Paul Grimshaw, he would always call any device that a comic book is put in, whether it's a bag and board or a mylar or these crystal tombs that these comics are put away. They're coffins. You're just entombing this book to never be, to serve its intended purpose, to be read. Well, honestly, yes. I'm sure a lot of these older comics, a lot of people don't open them up. But you're just guaranteed, like, you're just sealing it away, sealing it from air, sealing it from anything that could get to it because you need to retain its value. Now, your Action Comics, number one, and stuff like that maybe those should be protected. But Super Mario Brothers, I mean, somebody has a sealed one. Okay, great. You have a sealed game. But now I fear this is going to just inspire people to just like all these other games. And let me tell you how this affects me. At our work, we sell video games. At my job, my Monday through Friday, we do video game. We sell video games in all different shapes and forms. And so now, over the past few months, we've had shitheads, because we sell games from all sorts of generations. We go all the way back to like freaking Super Nintendo, Game Boy Color. We go all the way back. So people have been buying, especially I guess right now Game Boy, especially Game Boy Color. I guess everyone's thinking that's going to be the next speculative market where you get these games, you get them a sealed one, because we have them sealed. My crazy boss has a shit ton of games, and they're all sealed. He's been wholesaling and retailing and doing all kinds of things for as long as he's been able to. For the last 20 years, he's been slinging video games, and now people are buying them from us, and to try to see if they can speculate. I believe some shithead. I'll tell you why he's a shithead. Bought like 10 copies of Tomb Raider for the Game Boy Color from us. He bought 10 copies. All right, cool. Sure, we have 10 sealed copies of Tomb Raider. Okay, that's all you want them. I'm not sure if he bought them. I think he bought them through Amazon. We were selling them on Amazon. And he bought them, and then he immediately, I guess once he received them, he perused them, and I guess they weren't to his liking. I guess they weren't, he wouldn't get the desired 9.3 or 9.4, 9.5 of the Wata scale. And he returned them to us. Of course, these games are going to get trashed by the freaking USPS or freaking UPS or, whatever. Or, I think the dude even opened a few of them and returned them under the premise of oh, not what I expected. Some shitty excuse as to why he returned them to us. Oh no, these are not up to my standard. I cannot. So all these shitheads are going through our catalog and ordering multiple copies because they're trying to see, they want to try cherry pick. They want to order 10, cherry pick the one they want to keep to be graded, and then return the other 9. Which, it's obviously incredibly annoying on one hand for us. What the fuck? It's our inventory is just floating around and being returned, and not in the state that we sent it out. So then if we try to sell one of those to someone else, and you're hey, I expected a brand new copy of Tomb Raider. What the fuck? This one's all tore up. This one got kicked by a UPS freaking dude. What the hell? It's really fucking annoying. Now, this is really this is first world problems. But as a person, I like to think of the consumers. What if there is someone out there who just wants to buy the game and get the game, and you don't want to get a fucked up box. But when you go to your retailer, do you want to go buy something? Do you buy the box that's fucked up, or you buy the box that's looks like it's in good condition? You're gonna grab the one in good condition. If you have the wherewithal to pick out the one, it's all right, I'm gonna go buy this fan. You go to Home Depot, you see the box that's looks like a dog tore into it, or the box that hasn't been torn up. You're grabbing the one that isn't tore up. But if you receive that in the mail, you buy it from a retailer, you're fuck this, I'm returning this shit. I am a little entitled to, if I buy a brand new game and it's fucked up because this other idiot bought it and returned it because, we sent him 10 perfectly good copies, but these are not what I expected. Are these even real? Opens a couple. Oh, no, return them. Because Amazon's return policy is very liberal, apparently. And so we've been having to do this, and it's funny, we have to actually go in, and I think we have to ban people who are just I'm buying 20 copies of, Odd World Adventures. No, we're not selling those to you. No. We know how this story's going to end. We're just going to leave these here. Oh, there's Ryan Tanaka. Now we have all 3 patrons on live right now watching the show. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your service and your patronage, helping keep this show rolling. So yeah, anytime we get these wacky orders, but we'll still get wacky orders now, and apparently right now, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but GameCube games have gained value exponentially. And then as a quasi game collector, I can't really collect right now. Honestly, I have a child. I can't really collect games right now. I want to. I'm surrounded by thousands of games every day, and the GameCube has always had a soft spot in my heart. I can't put my finger on it as to why, but I had a lot of great times playing on my GameCube. There's been a lot of fun games that I have played. There's a lot of cool shit. In that same generation, a lot of people will argue that the Xbox is better, and other people will argue that PS2 is better because you can play Grand Theft Auto on the PS2. You can play God of War on the PS2. You can play Halo on the Xbox. You can play Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic on the Xbox. But for whatever reason, I don't know, I've always just been a Nintendo guy at heart. Not even because I worked for them. Even going back to when I was a kid, I've always been a Nintendo guy. But around that time, from 2001, when it launched, to about 2005, I supported the Nintendo GameCube. When I bought games, if there was a GameCube version, I'd buy the GameCube version. Something I always bring up, and you can check out our YouTube page, which I hope maybe I'm going to update this week. I'm sorry for any of you who are YouTube subscribers. I'm really sorry. I have not been able to update it. Work has been crazy. And work is the only time I have enough Wi-Fi to update the YouTube page. There's a video of a game, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Now that game came out on the Xbox, it came out on the PS2, and it came out on the GameCube. And of course, honestly, at that point, the only thing I had around that time, I was recovering from being a broke ass college student. While I was in college, the only game system I really had was a Game Boy Advance. I would steal my brother's PS2 every so often. When I wanted to play Kingdom Hearts, I would borrow his PS2. But for the most part, any of the gaming I did when I was in college was just on my GBA. I logged many hours, and honestly, it wasn't that many games back then. Before I put my ankles into the video game industry later on, when once I graduated from college and started working for GameStop and so on and so forth. That's when I have a shitload of Game Boy games and DS and so on. But back then, if we just go back to that, when I had a limited budget on video games, I invested it in the Game Boy Advance, and then subsequently, when I had to sit down and think about, I want to buy a system, I recall, I think I was working at Fry's Electronics at the time, or either right about after graduation or right before I graduated from college. I picked up a GameCube, and I believe I got Metroid Prime for free with it. I was waiting for one of those promos, because that's what they used to... I don't know if they aggressively do it as much nowadays. I think they do like custom consoles now. They have the Spider-Man PS4. I know when I bought my PS4, I got the Destiny PS4. But back then, when I was broke, couldn't afford a meal. Can't be... I was just about to break into Too Short's Getting It. I'm sorry. It's what I do. Y'all should be lucky I'm not bursting into Hamilton. I'm like holding a Hamilton in the back of my head. I'm just like, hold! Keep the Hamilton down! When I was broke, couldn't afford a meal, I decided I was going to buy a GameCube. I wanted a console. I had more free time. It was after I graduated. I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to buy books ever again. I have money. I can buy a game console. I bought a GameCube and Metroid Prime, and I was immediately frustrated. Sorry, Jai. That game's fucking frustrating for me. Metroid Prime, I know it's one of the greatest pieces of whatever, but sorry. Super Metroid guy the entire time. The entire way here. And I think a little after that, I went out and bought a copy of Super Smash Bros. Melee. And and then from that point forward, I started buying games for my GameCube. But to circle it back, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King for the GameCube. I was working for GameStop in 2003 at that point. That was holiday 2003. And I had borrowed that game, because back at GameStop, you could borrow, if we had a used copy of a game, you could borrow it, and for a night or two. That way you can come back and be more knowledgeable. That was the intent of the borrowing program back at the old GameStop. I played that damn game all night. Oh, it was just so awesome. Even 2003 graphics, obviously. You look at stuff now and you compare it back then. It's not, you can't compare. It really sucks for that PS1, PS2, N64. A GameCube era, original Xbox. You go back and see some of those graphics, it's rough as fuck to go back and look at that shit. But for whatever reason, back then, 2003, that was our peak. It looked amazing. You had that game like full motion video, and it flowed right into the game, and that was awesome. You had Ian McKellen narrating the whole thing. He recorded EA, what do you call it? See, I never picked up Two Towers. I always... Again, this goes back to like, I want to go back and collect some GameCube games I never got to. I never picked up Two Towers, and now I don't know if that one's gone up in value. A lot of stuff has gone up in crazy value. Like Super Mario Sunshine. Not a great game. I mean, it depends on your point of view. One of my coworkers at work, he's really hoping that when they do the Nintendo was supposed to announce this big Mario anniversary thing this year, which they're going to announce at some point. They're going to bring back a bunch of old Mario games on the Nintendo Switch. And he's hoping and praying that Sunshine is one of the games. I would imagine Mario Galaxy is going to be one of the big ones that comes back. Yeah, Jai. Back when EA cared. Burnout 3. Thank you. Back when EA gave a shit. And yeah, I remember that was so awesome. I played it on my freaking GameCube. There was another EA game. I recall during that PS2 era, PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, EA really gave a shit and put out a lot of quality titles. And for whatever reason, going forward, once they're able to get their hands on downloadable content, they they became the evil empire, and it was horrible. Another EA game, when EA had the James Bond license, there was a game, Everything or Nothing. It was basically a James Bond movie that was not a movie, but they made it as a video game. They got Pierce Brosnan to do the voice. They brought in a whole cast of EA shelled out the money. They created a Bond movie that was a game. And I remember that was another awesome experience. I think I borrowed that from work. I think I finished it in one night. And that's another game I want to go back and buy. We have sealed copies of James Bond, Everything or Nothing, at work. And I was just like, shit, these are going up in value. And I can't justify buying that right now. I was kept home like, those will go down at some point. Or maybe we'll have a used one. I'll buy one of those. That way I can add it to the catalog. And if I ever had the wild hair to pop it in and play through it and laugh at 2003 or 2004 graphics. Like, oh, look, this was a lot of fun back then. Yeah. Oof. Terrible. So, the thing about how some of this stuff has changed, but back then, for whatever reason, again, my original point, the GameCube, I have this soft spot for this system, but now all this stuff is shooting up in price. I am all over the place. This is where a co-host really helps to keep me in line. It really bothers me that they're like, I have a lot of good stuff on my GameCube already. I did manage to. That's one of my big regrets that I didn't take advantage of when I was working for Nintendo. I was there at the death knell of the GameCube. I walked in as the GameCube was slowly being killed. Mario was in the back going, "I'm so sorry." They were murdering the GameCube. I think one of the last games was Chibi Robo. And I think there was like Baten Kaitos and all these wacky games they're putting out near the end. They were putting out Mario Party 8. And I regret that I didn't take advantage because I did have the excess funds back then to go in and I could have gone onto the employee store and bought a lot of those games for ridiculously low prices. The employee pricing for some of this stuff, I wish I could tell you exactly, or if I could recall it exactly, but the employee prices for Nintendo games were insane. And then I think the year after I left, they did this thing. They did a garage sale. I guess they were clearing out a bunch of stuff, and they were literally selling games for $1. Like, there was GameCube games, there was Wii games, there was all kinds of DS and Game Boy games. I guess they were just trying to clear out the employee store because they'd set aside a bunch of stuff for the employees to buy. I mean, naturally, one of the nice things about being the Nintendo rep is that they sent me a lot of the games. But they also had some third-party. If you wanted the third-party games, you could buy them through the employee store. But I remember, the year after, my buddy who's an intern, like, "Oh man, you totally missed out on the garage sale." It's like, I spent $100 and I bought 100 games. I was like, I think he had already liquidated a bunch of stuff. But that stuff would actually probably be worth a lot of money now. I'm sure he's kicking himself right now for not hanging on. But a lot of people don't. You don't know. You don't expect stuff from a system that was considered a failure. They sold 48 million units worldwide, and the system was considered a failure. And then the Wii came in, and we all know that story. And if you don't know that story, we'll save that for another podcast. And yeah, I didn't expect a lot of these games to go up in value. My collection, I have a lot of good stuff. I have the Metroid Prime trilogy. I have, what do you call it? No, Metroid Prime trilogy, that's on Wii. Sorry about that. But I think I do have the 3 Metroid Prime games on the GameCube. Will I ever play them? No. Sorry, Jai. Maybe if they re-release Metroid Prime on the Switch when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, maybe I'll give it a whirl. But half the time, honestly, I think I just like to frustrate people like Jai with my not playing of Metroid Prime. I did try playing that game. There was one boss where I was just like, how am I supposed to beat? It was an exercise in frustration. And if 20-something-year-old me couldn't take it, I can't imagine 40-year-old me is going to be able to have any patience for that nonsense. So there's so much out there. There's some cool stuff. I know, there's stuff in my collection my boss wants to buy off of me. There's this crazy shooting game called Ikaruga. I showed it to my brother-in-law. He's like, "What? You have Ikaruga?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know that one was good." There was some stuff I did get my hands on. I think my ex has my copy of Cubivore, which I think is worth a ridiculous amount of money now. I was like, but I'm not the guy who's gonna be like, hey, can I get my GameCube game back? I don't think she'd even know where it is. I'm trying to think. I have like other like wacky stuff like Killer 7. I guess my copy. I have a copy of Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. That thing apparently is worth like $150. I was like, oh, cool, good to know. Am I gonna sell my copy of Paper Mario? Probably not. But it's nice to know. Apparently, it's valuable to some crazy collectors. Another one, the Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes. Say, Jaipod, I will end you if you sell your career. Yeah, because you want me to bequeath it to you in my estate when I die. I know. You want me to bequeath. Oh, Viewtiful Joe. Yes, that's another one in the collection that I cherish that game. It's funny. A few years ago, the last time I ventured up to Seattle for the Penny Arcade Expo, they have this awesome area where they literally curate a library of every game that you could potentially play. And I fired that up. I was like, I would like to play, because I didn't, for whatever reason, I felt this urge. I wanted to play Viewtiful Joe there at the convention. A part of me, I think I wanted to show off. I'm like, hey, I'm really good at this game. Yeah, 2004 me was really good at that game. 2013, I think was the last time I went. 2013, I was not good at it. I got my ass beat by Viewtiful Joe. And I wasn't even playing like on Ultra V-rated. I was playing on regular mode. And for whatever, I don't know if it was just the mental disconnect, lag, old age. I'm playing the first stage. I'm like, why am I sucking so hard at this? I could get through these early stages without being touched. Can't touch me. Haha. Gotcha. And for whatever reason, I guess 2013 me couldn't figure it out. And honestly, if I ever find time at work to get the gaming channel back, that's one of the games I've really... Whoa. Sorry, hit the table. That's one of the games where I'd really want to set up and play and stream me playing so I could share my shittiness. And yes, Jai Pollard, you know what? We can't talk about Viewtiful Joe without talking about Jai Polidor. Because I bought that game on his recommendation way back when. I think that was another holiday 2003 purchase. I bought that game, but I think I pulled some terrible retail ruse. I took a couple of games. I think a couple of games that our boss Sean T. Horbuckle gave me, and I take them to Toys R Us, and I'm like, oh, I got these as gifts, but I don't have the receipt. Can I get some store credit for these? Ha 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 ha. Terrible human. But hey, that's how the system worked. And I took, I think it was a copy of Freedom Fighters for the Xbox, and there was one other, I forget what the other game. I always remember that copy of Freedom Fighters. I'm like, I am never going to play this. And Sean had got it for free. He bequeathed a couple games to me, a couple games to Jai. I went to Toys R Us, and I'm taking this up. I think there was a PS2 game and an Xbox game. I didn't have either one of those. I had a GameCube. I'm like, taking it to Toys R Us, I'm going to turn them into another game. I remember Jai's like, get Viewtiful Joe. And I'm like, well, it was only like 30 or 40 bucks. I'm like, that's cool. Saves me some money. And I got a copy of Viewtiful Joe. And I forget what else I got. I think I might have got, I don't know if it was Wind Waker and something else. Oh no, I think I bought Wind Waker. You may or may not have with the retort system for Xbox and PlayStation. See, that's how the system worked back then. That's why everything is so hard to return or exchange in the physical retail store nowadays, because of people like us who took advantage of it. And so I don't remember the other two games that I got, but I remember getting Viewtiful Joe. Because Jai couldn't stop talking about how awesome Viewtiful Joe was. And so I got Viewtiful Joe. I went home, I popped in, and wow, this game is really cool. And I get to one of the mini bosses, and it's a helicopter. And I'm just dying every time. And I was like, what the hell? I don't understand. And I'm like slowing down time, I'm speeding up time. Or slowing down the film, or speeding up the film. And I get to work the next day. And I'm like, Jai, what the hell is up with this freaking game? I don't understand. How do I beat the helicopter? And Jai says one sentence, and he goes, Dre, you can punch the bullets. And much like when Neo sees Morpheus jump across from one building to the other in the jump program, I had that same, oh, whoa, you can punch the bullets? Wait. He broke my brain. I was just like, what do you mean you could punch? What do you mean you can punch the bullets? And so I got home I raced home from work, popped in Viewtiful Joe, get to the helicopter. How do you punch? I slow down time. So you slow down the film. You slow down and speed up the film. Like the game is a film. It's not time, but you're speeding up and slowing down. I slow down as the helicopter is shooting its machine gun at me, which was murdering me before. You slow it down and you see these giant bullets. I'm like, there's a giant bullet. So you slow it down. It's still coming towards you because it's a bullet. So instead of going, it is like, boom. I see the bullet. I'm like, okay. Jai says you can punch the bullets. Uppercut. Bullet goes right back into the helicopter. Major damage. Like, what the hell? Neo in the Matrix. Seriously. And just from then on, I whipped that game's ass. 2003 Dre. A much younger man. 24-year-old me. Ripped through that game. Once I understood, because the speeding up and slowing down affected everything in the game. Oh, you see there's a drip in the background. You slow down, the drip gets bigger, and blows up the pipe. There's giant flames coming in towards you. You speed up time, and the flames fade away as the wind goes. It's a lot of puzzles throughout the game, and then you have to use all this V-Tech, beautiful tech. It's a work of art. It is a bloody shame that for whatever reason Capcom has like locked him away to just being a man in the roster of these Marvel versus Capcom games, and not I'm shocked they haven't remastered the game and put it out, and I'm sure they don't think it would be very profitable because it was a niche title back then. It was relatively successful on the GameCube. It was supposed to be exclusive to the GameCube, but after the exclusivity window ran out, I think it was supposed to be a part of the original Nintendo 5 or Capcom 5. There was going to be 5 Capcom games that were going to be exclusive to the GameCube for them showing support for the GameCube. It's ironically, I think we sold one of them today at work. We sold PNO3, product number 3, which was supposed to be exclusive to the GameCube, and that one ended up being exclusive because that one was not good. Resident Evil 4 was supposed to be another exclusive to the GameCube, but after 6 months, Capcom was like, we need to make more money from this. It was very successful. Sold a lot of copies on the GameCube, but they put it out on the PS2 and then put it on every game console on forward into history. We talked about that before. They've released it 10 times. And they'll release it an 11th time. And they'll release it a 12th time. And Jai and I will buy it the 12th and 11th and 12th times. We'll just keep buying it. Yeah, Bayonetta is the spiritual. Yes, the developers who were, for whatever reason, Capcom was being dicks, and so these guys at Atsushi Inaba-san, I believe, left and he created Bayonetta. And I remember I remember you showed me Bayonetta. I thought that there was a tombstone of Red Hot Joe. And you see her break the Red Hot Joe. That's supposed to be a reference to Viewtiful Joe. And then I think the Wonderful 101. That was another there was a lot of veiled references to Joe. A lot of the heroes looked like Joe. A lot of them they looked like Joe or whatever. But Viewtiful Joe was relatively successful. And then they released a sequel. Well, they ended up. It was supposed to be only for the GameCube, but then 8 months later, they put it out in the PS2, and they added Dante from Devil May Cry into the game. And then, same thing happened. But they eventually released a Viewtiful Joe 2. I was incredibly excited. I thought they were going to do co-op, but they did not do co-op. You could play as Sexy Sylvia or Viewtiful Joe, but it was a fun game. I beat it. It was awesome. And they were building towards a trilogy because it was a game based on movies. Oh, every good sequel needs to have a trilogy, but they never put out the third game because Viewtiful Joe 2 did not make that much money. They put it out on GameCube, they put it on PS2, but did not make enough money. They did do a DS game, Viewtiful Joe Double Trouble, and that was only okay. And then they put out a game on the PSP and the GameCube. They put out a Smash Brothers-esque game, but it was based on a terrible, terrible anime that came out based on Viewtiful Joe, and it was not a great anime. It was bad. It was badly Americanized. Yikes! Just not good, not fun. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Captain Blue Jr., you suck. I don't like you, Captain Blue Jr. But I believe I do have that. I think I know I have the DS one for sure. I have that Viewtiful Joe. I think ironically, I think I bought it while I was up in Seattle. I think. I could have sworn I remember seeing it. For whatever reason, me and the other reps who were training, when I got hired by Nintendo, I saw it at a store. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy this now. Right? I wish they would bring back Viewtiful Joe. Like, why not? They remaster everything. They keep remastering stuff. They clearly control Joe. Inaba-san will never get to work on Joe again, but they can at least take that game, HD it up. That way more people can play it. They can do it as a digital release, and then old limited. Well, Capcom doesn't work with limited run, so there's stuff like that. I talked to my boss about that because my boss he's a guy, he's a mover and shaker. You can get shit published, so to speak. If there's something like I keep trying to give him ideas of shit to publish. Like, hey, could you talk to somebody and get this game back in the rotation? And believe me, I've been working on Joe, but I think that's more of a Capcom problem than anybody else problem. So yeah, like, I'll tell my wife, like, video games, comics, these are the topics I can get really passionate about, and I can go on for a long time. Because like I know the last few weeks we had tightened up the show to a nice 30-minute clip, but here we are on minute 41. Just because I'm getting all nostalgic about my old GameCube and all those games. Man, I miss it. That generation, I have to say, I think that's probably my favorite generation of gaming. The PS2, the GameCube, and the Xbox. I think it's kind of like music. Like you like the music from your era. It's like when I was a teenager, I loved 90s music. I loved that era but when I was a young adult in my 20s, I love the games from that era. I think I have a lot of positive memories, but I really am sort of afraid to go back and try some of them and see if it's still there. Is it just memories, or is the magic still there? I replayed Resident Evil 4 on my Switch. I beat the brakes out after it beat my ass for roughly 3.5 months or 4 months. I got good, as the internet kids say. I get good. I got good, and I beat the brakes off that game twice during my lunch breaks at work. And it's like, oh, that game was good, but this was a HD remaster and whatnot. So that game still was good. In my opinion, is one of the best games ever made. So yeah, naturally, that game was still good. But there's some other stuff, like a Burnout 3, like there was a Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. That's one I bought on the Xbox. And man, that was another good ass game from that generation. There's stuff that was good then. I don't know if it retains, because I kept saying, I think one of the biggest problems I had overcoming Resident Evil 4, because it is the old, still you're talking about 2005 controls. I played Destiny for 3 years. See, we bring it back around to Destiny. I played Destiny for 3 years, and no matter how much people shit on that game, that game had some of the tightest controls I've ever seen. Gyre, your favorite music is the stuff you were listening to when you lost your virginity. Ha! Probably true for the majority of people. Man. But yeah, with these video games, I feel that quote would probably be different for your video games. It's different. There's a lot of Super Nintendo. It's weird. I think there's a lot of Super Nintendo stuff that holds up, but I think it's stuff that's not timing based. Because on the Switch, they let you play a lot of old NES and Super NES games, and I'll fire those up, and I'll be like, "Whoa, this is garbage. This is bad." Yeah, see right there, Jai right there with another awesome point. Developers were more daring in that PS1 and PS2 era, because you go from this limited 8-bit, 16-bit. You're forced to squeeze out stuff from that, and then you have this whole new world to open up to you. You have all this extra computing power that you didn't have for the first 15 years or 20 years in some respects. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, we can do a lot more stuff. And now I in my opinion, I feel a lot of gaming has gotten a little lazy. That's why you find a lot of the best stuff from independent publishers. All the major publishers are just looking to make money, where a lot of these indie people, like a game I want to play is a game called Dead Cells. It's a kind of a Metroidvania-esque game, and that's the type I kind of like. I find like I fall into that, like, oh, I like that Metroid, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, Iga-esque type of game. I got that Bloodstained game. I think I'm gonna go back to that. But we just got Streets of Rage 4 at work. Physical copies coming out this month. If you want to get yourself a physical copy of Streets of Rage 4, not limited run. Sorry, limited run. Your limited run is over. Actual physical copies of Streets of Rage 4 for the PS4, the Nintendo Switch, and the Xbox One are coming out later this month. But I'm going to get my grubby hands on one early, I think. Yeah. I hope I can put together a stream. Even though the game's been streamed to death because it's been out digitally for a while. But yeah, a lot of the daring and creativeness is now in the independent market. That's why I think a company like Limited Run Games takes advantage, and they take a lot of these games that are digital only and publish them so people can get a physical copy. Because as we've talked about here before, physical is better than digital. No matter what, I see people on Twitter talking about, oh man, all these people waiting in line for a disc that you have to install when you can just preload a game at midnight. Yeah, Jai, no, I was thinking of you, brother, because we're gonna have to set that up, and I don't know if my hotspot's gonna be strong enough for us to do some co-op on my Nintendo Switch. We're gonna have to do some co-op on that Streets of Rage. Yeah, Streets of Rage 4 is coming out soon. I have been hustling my ass off as my sales manager role within my division of the company, getting people to getting video game stores to pre-order that. River City Girls, I know I want to get that, but that one keeps going up in price. It's getting out of my reasonable price range. That's one where I may have to buy it digitally. I don't want to buy it digitally. I want to buy a nice physical copy that I can hold, that will work when the internet fails after the pandemic kills us all. I am very crazy when it comes to digital versus physical. Yeah, River City Girls. Apparently, there's going to be a sequel or something at some point for River City Girls. That one did very well for WayForward and all the people who worked on that. All right, so let's wrap this up. I've been rambling. You call dibs on Blaze? That's cool. As soon as I can unlock Max, I'm going to frickin' powerbomb some motherfuckers. Give them the atomic drops, drop kicks. River City Girls, yes. As in River City Ransom, yes. Daniel. They flipped the script. And instead of the girlfriends being kidnapped, it's the boyfriends who are kidnapped. And the girls beat the shit out of people, make them barf. Make them barf and take their coins. And going, yeah. Stuff that you want to keep forever, or theoretically keep forever, you got to get the physical copies, because you never know when digital rights will disappear. We just found out the other day. Some episodes of 30 Rock, if you're only a digital, you'll never see John Hamm in blackface say some terrible things. You'll never see it again unless you have the DVD. That came out before. They can't snatch that DVD out of your hands. Yeah, dang. River City Girls. I've watched a lot of gameplay on it. I keep wanting to pull the trigger on it, but I'm gonna have to buy the significantly much more affordable Streets of Rage 4 at some point this week. A Bobo is harder than the last boss. Jesus, tap dancing Christ. Yeah, like physical media. You want to have control. People don't realize a lot of these. I keep cutting myself off. With digital media, you don't have control. You think you have control. Who lives? Who dies? Who tells your story? I had to. That was for my wife right there. I know she's watching. Because when you just buy digital, you have no control over it. It can be taken away. Yeah, see, Scott Pilgrim. You see, you buy that digitally, you can't buy it again. You have to like hang on. Yeah, see, yeah, you're Ryan. You have a VHS copy of Song of the South. Holy Jesus, tap dancing Christ. Oh, Hamilton mixtape. I have been keeping myself from listening to that. All right, we'll break down some Hamilton talk here at the end. I can't get the soundtrack out of my head. Anytime I have a quiet, like, all right, so obviously, Rose and I, we have Baby Tiger. Baby Tiger wakes up at night. In those quiet moments, when I'm trying to get him back to sleep, a random Hamilton song just pops in. I'm not even throwing it on my phone. It just pops into my head. Like some random lyrics will start going. I'll be holding Tiger. And it'll just be like, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Or, we're outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned. We need to make an all-out stand. I need a right-hand man. I've told my friend, me and Lamar, we have our karaoke friends, our karaoke friends from Sardo's. We have decided, like, if we ever get karaoke back, I know in light of this pandemic, we've already casted ourselves, our karaoke group, we've casted ourselves as in our roles in Hamilton. And George Washington, right here. It resonated with me. That role, like not this role, the voice. That's my range. That's my range. As my vocal range. Like do a little bit of that rapping, a little bit that Jay-Z that he gets off a little bit, that little Jay-Z tribute of George Washington. That's me right there. History has its eyes on me. Ooh. I'm going to violate all the SoundCloud things. I'm going to have to put, is there any music on your podcast? Yes. Those 10-second snippets. Just me fucking around. Yeah, no, my coworker, Ryan, my coworker is having that quandary right now. He doesn't want to watch it on Disney Plus because he wanted to see it physically live, but you know that original cast. No, I watched it. I can never go see it live. I can't see it without that original cast. My wife and I were saying, like, no, we can't even look up the historical figures because Lafayette will always be David Diggs now. Like if I, in the history books, I have erased whatever Marquis de Lafayette looks like with his no chin, and it's got David Diggs right there. You can wipe off Thomas Jefferson. Put David Diggs right there. Can wipe off I'm gonna erase all the Hamiltons on my 10s. I'm gonna put Lynn on there. we have colorized our history. we keep laughing. It's like, because the best part of the new lineup is the King. I haven't seen the new King. I enjoy that current King. It's reverse whitewashing. I have watched so many YouTube because they got the original cast back together for this they did a Zoom press tour. You go on YouTube and there's all these press tours they've been doing via Zoom. Like Miranda said, he had to give up 2 Fs to get on D+. Man, John Adams, you stupid fat motherfucker! Oh man. Yeah, I was like surprised at the amount of casual swearing. I love it. There's so many little things I love about it. We're probably gonna talk about Hamilton for the rest of my life. It really resonated with me a lot. I love it. The hip hop, the lyricism, everything's amazing about it. They gave up 2 Fs. They gave up Southern motherfucking Democratic Republicans. Amazing. If you haven't watched it, steal someone's Disney Plus account and watch it. It's totally worth it. I love it. One of my coworkers, she's only obsessed with K-pop, but she's like, "Oh my god, it was so good. I don't like hip hop, but it was really great." I laughed. She's like, "I still love K-pop, but this was really good." I'm like, "Yes, it is really good." But speaking of which, it is 9 p.m. Oh wow, see. back to normal, I guess. I kept talking about, like, oh, I can't do an hour without a co-host. I can't do an hour. But you know what? I was able to do an hour because of all of you who were watching with me live. All of you who were talking to me via the comments. I thank you. I can only go an hour if you guys are here and interacting with me. So I can't do this without you guys live. Like, if I were to just do this like a traditional podcast and just sit here by myself in just an echo chamber of just me, I couldn't go more than 10 minutes. But no, don't apologize to Rosa. She loves Hamilton just as much. She was throwing it on yesterday. She loves all the songs. She laughs every time King George comes out. That's her jam. Oh, no, I can't even do a good King George. I leave that to the wife. She can nail that note. I can't hit that Empire's Fall note. That note on fall. I can't hit that note. I keep trying. Empire's Fall. Nope. No, I'm not even gonna try. We can go for an hour. I love it. It's awesome. Don't worry about Rosa. Yeah, as soon as it's over, Jai, you're coming right here. We're gonna chop it up and be crazy again. As soon as we're able to be in the same room, I don't have to worry about getting you sick. You don't have to worry about getting me sick. As soon as we can do that, we can get our the new King is more animated. See, I imagine, yeah, but that King on the Broadway cast, that's what's his face? That's Sven from Frozen. Ever since I found that out, I'm like, it just delights me. How I would imagine all the King Georges have to be very ridiculous for what they do. But as always, please be here. Yeah, as I was thanking you guys, I thank you. I can't do this without you guys. Those of you who come here every week, like Daniel, Art, Ryan Tanaka, Jai, James, friggin', who else was commenting? Irv. Like all of you who show up every week. I know Rolando, you were here early on. I know Pete, you're lurking. I know Warren, you're a lurker too. You lurk as well. Mike Lee, you show up on a regular basis. I can't do this without you guys. I wouldn't. If you guys didn't show up every week, I would have ended this show freaking 20 episodes. But we're here on the road to episode 200, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Make sure follow us. You know, I got to do the usual nonsense here at the end. At DreGP Podcast. That's me on Twitter. I have been incredibly ridiculous on Twitter. Go check it out. I'm a lunatic on Twitter now. It's fun. Twitter is ridiculous. That's my other 4 a.m. If I don't have Hamilton songs resonating in my head while I'm trying to get my son back to sleep, I'm on Twitter and tweeting out ridiculous things, getting myself in trouble with Twitter people. I love it. It's so great. On Instagram as well, I'm trying to post more again on there, at DreGP Podcast. I'm going to make it a point to either during my lunch this week to try to work on the YouTube page and get a lot of these other more recent episodes back up there in case Facebook explodes at some point. We have everything backed up onto the YouTubes. And then, Patreon. If anyone else wants to be a patron, if we get enough money, I'll give away a copy of Streets of Rage 4. If we get more patrons, we'll give away a copy of Streets of Rage 4 for the system of your choice. See, we can do stuff like that. If we have more patrons, we can do crazy things like that. I can get video games working, give them away to try to drive. That's how you do it. That's marketing. It's marketing. That's what I heard. I hear that's how marketing works. I'm not sure. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You've been watching Dre's Geek Philosophy Podcast. Thank you so much for all of you who come every week for the live version. And if you're not here for the live version, hey, enjoy the replay. Replay. Yeah, on demand. See you guys next week. Good night.